Hello and welcome to our next episode of CatSci podcast. I'm joined by Tori again, and today we're going to be talking about cat enrichment. Have you ever thought about ways that you can enrich your cat's life? Providing enrichment to your cat really allows them to engage in species-specific behaviors, or those behaviors that make your cat a cat. So, for example, your cat is a hunter, and engaging in behaviors related to hunting are really important for the well-being of your cat. Tori, I'd love to hear about some of the ways that you allow your cats to hunt for their food. So, what kind of food enrichment do you provide to them?
Yeah, so I use a few different types. A couple of my favorites are the Doc and Phoebe's No Bowl, which is this little dish that's covered in a fabric, and you put treats inside. It has a string tail and a head with some ears, and they can fling it really far or they can bat it around with their paws, and they seem to really enjoy that one. The other is the Cat It treat ball, and I fill that with some kibble or some treats, and they roll that around, and that keeps them pretty busy. What about you? Which ones do you use?
Yeah, we use the food ball as well, and I love that because the one that we have, you can adjust the difficulty on it. So when cats are first starting out, you can make it really easy. Basically, just nudge the ball and treats are going to fall out of it. And then as they get better, you can make it harder and harder as time goes on. And then they also have those mats where there's different textures. And so you can put the treats on there, and the cats have to kind of work to get the treats that have fallen into little crevices or little holes. So, again, kind of almost like a bug hiding that they have to hunt for within these mats. When I talk to cat owners, though, and suggest different enrichment, I think one barrier that we find is that, first off, people don't want to spend a lot of money on enrichment. And second, they don't want to spend money on something their cat's going to potentially destroy or rip apart. So, do you have any suggestions on ways that people can make their own cat enrichment, maybe for free or using things in their own home?
Yeah, and one thing that I want to mention, I know it's a barrier for owners that they don't want their cat to destroy things, but we actually find that cats love to destroy things, and if you think about them hunting a mouse, obviously they're going to rip it apart to get as gory as it is, the meat inside. And so cats really do need to engage in that behavior of tearing and ripping things. So, one of the things that I like to do is using toilet paper tubes or paper towel tubes, and you can cut them into various sizes, and you can fold in the ends and cut a hole in the middle and fill that with treats or fill it with treats or kibble, and then they can knock that around, or they can chew on the cardboard and rip it open if they're that type of cat. The other thing that you can do with toilet paper tubes is cut them into various sizes and then put them into a shallow box. Even a shoe box can work sometimes, and you just stick them in, and you make this kind of honeycomb looking structure, and then you can just toss their food inside, and they have to reach inside and pick those treats out. The other thing that I like to do is I will repurpose things around the house, such as I have a rubber brush, and it has the little rubber spikes that are, used to brush the animal. But I stick treats in there, and they kind of have to fish around and get the food out. And it serves as also a slow feeding bowl for them, too, if you have the type that gorge on the scarf and barf type. So those are a few favorites of mine. You can also do sheets and just hide treats in there and let them kind of snuffle around. What do you do?
Yeah, so we do a lot of those same kind of things. We'll also use egg cartons because those are easy. You can shut them, fill them with treats. Again, if your cat hasn't done it before, you can leave the egg carton open so they just get used to searching in the egg carton and making that association that seeing this, there's going to be something good in there and they should try to open it. And then as they get better, you can shut it more loosely and then shut it tightly. So it's kind of a way to work up to something more complex. And then even just simply like a paper bag. we'll put some kibble in the paper bag, and then especially my cat Kevin loves to rip that open and kind of shred it. And going back to your point about it's important that those cats are able to engage in that predatory behavior of ripping and dissecting. And that really is important for their welfare because predation and this predatory motor pattern is really a key aspect of what makes a cat a cat. And not having an outlet for them to engage in those behaviors can really lead to behavioral issues or boredom in the cat. So it's really important to kind of consider some of these things. And although we don't want to be buying a feather toy over and over that the cat's going to be ripping apart, maybe that's really important for that cat to do. So I completely agree with you there.
Absolutely. All good relationships are built on compromises, and my compromise with my cat is I pick up their little cardboard pieces all over the place. And it's just part of having them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes we'll go into the cat. We have like a little play area for them with like a rug and some cat towers. And sometimes we go in there and it's just like something exploded. There's cardboard, there's paper everywhere from them shredding it. So, yeah, okay, I have to go clean it up. But, at least they had fun. So,
Absolutely. And if they're going to shred some cardboard, that's much better than engaging in other behaviors like, scratching the couch or whatever they're going to do.
at least they're doing it to an undesirable object that we don't care about. So, going off of kind of this compromise idea, I think that another big issue is people don't play with their cats enough, and especially with movement being so important for cats. We actually had a study recently published where we were looking at what kind of toys cats most prefer. So, what we found was that cats significantly prefer a toy that has movement to toys that are stationary. And if we have the same feather toy on the ground or moving, they are more likely to play with that feather toy if it's moving. If they don't have any toys that really engages again that predatory sense, they might get bored. They might not want to play with the toy. So, do you have any toys that have movement to them or that kind of mimic prey that your cats like?
Yeah. And overall, I think I just want to mention that owners really tend to play with their cats wrong. And they'll kind of just wave the toy right in front of the cat's face. And I feel like the cat half the time is like, why do you have this in my face? This is so annoying. So instead of focusing on just kind of throwing the toy right in front of them and, kind of batting them in the head with it, sometimes really think about what they would like to chase. So they like bugs, they like mice, and think about how those animals move. You might even go on YouTube and just watch how they walk and mimic those types of motor patterns in those animals. So, toys that I really like are um, there's a brand called Da Bird, um, and they go absolutely insane for that. They have a feather one. There's some real animal hide ones. There's also Nico Flies is now the Rompy Cats brand, and they have some really cool different interchangeable wand toy options, and that really gets my cats going. um on the more expensive end of things, I have a really awesome toy that I got at a convention, and it's called the Petronix Mouser, and it's pretty pricey. It's over $100. But since I work from home, I like to keep them busy without always needing me involved. And it is fascinating. They have programmed this little robotic mouse, has a couple different types of tails on it. So depending on if your cat likes to chase kind of um, a low, softer tail or a flicking tail, there's the different tail types, different speeds, different motor patterns that it will engage in. But one of the coolest things that it does is it senses the cat. It knows when it goes into walls, but it senses the cat, and it turns purple when it notices the cat, and it'll actually run right up to the cat, go face to face with it, and then back up real quick and take off in the opposite direction.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
almost like a real mouse going up, being like, "Oh crap, a cat!" backing up and running away. And that encourages the cat to chase. There's also a stationary setting for those cats who are a little bit lazier or just getting used to the idea of this toy. Um, and it has an RC car type function where you can drive it yourself in a simple and more complex um, mode. And so it is awesome. It also has all day play where it'll just randomly, if it senses the cat is near it, it'll randomly turn back on and start interacting with the cat again. So I love it.
That's
And
super cool. Yeah. I love that it actually reacts to the cats and kind of, because that's another issue with a lot of movement toys is the cat, even if it's moving on its own, it's not really reacting to the cat's behavior. So that's super cool that it's almost like engaging with it in a way.
oh yeah, it's super interesting to watch the cat be like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have anything that fancy. We've got one of those little hex bugs. Have you heard of those? That it's just like a little tiny thing with a tail attached that just moves around randomly. But it's really cool because you can just turn it on and leave the house and the cats can, play with it while you're gone. And then Kevin has, I don't remember the brand, but it's basically just like a big circle and you push the ball around in the circle and it'll just go, around and around. And so they still have to engage it to move initially, but then it'll kind of spark their interest after it goes around a few times and they'll keep batting at it. So they really love that toy as well.
Sure. I love those little hex bugs. I have a bunch of them because they'll lose them, but they tend to be about $4 in my area for one of them. And for the amount of energy that they put into chasing that little thing, it's worth it to me for them to lose it occasionally and
Yeah.
have to buy a new one. Um, that they love that one. And Hexbug also makes a little mouse toy as well. So if
Mm.
you want to see if your cat is interested in something like the Petronix mouse, the Hexbug mouse is also a great way to engage them as well. And they have one that has a little remote control as well. And going off of the circle with the ball inside, I have a Cadet, and I forget the exact model name, but it's like a little track, and you can put it in different configurations. It can be in
Yeah.
kind of a it could be in a circle, it could be in kind of a wave, and it has the ball in it, and they push that around, and that is I move it all around the house, and
Yeah.
every room that I move it to, it's a new toy and keeps them engaged again.
And I think that's a really good point that I also kind of wanted to talk about was that something can get boring after a while. Just like with humans, we have repeated exposure to something and it's just not fun anymore. But sometimes just simply picking up the toy and moving it to a new location or adding some catnip to it or something can make it novel enough that it's, going to get that cat interested again and almost be like a brand new toy to them. So I think that's something owners should consider as well. How can you kind of change things up for your cat so things don't get boring and they don't kind of habituate to it? My husband and I were going to go to the ocean the other week, and we pulled out our cooler and set it in the living room to fill. And when we came back, both of our boys were inside of the cooler exploring it. And it was like, okay, I didn't expect this to be a form of enrichment for my cats, but it was a novel item, and they went over and they explored it.
Sure, and even with their regular toys, like little pom-poms and their milk lids or
Mm.
whatever they use all the time, their everyday toys, it's nice to split those into a couple different groups and hide some of them and then rotate them out. And then you don't have to keep buying new toys that your cat gets bored of. They forget that they had them, and then it's super cool again once you bring that other um group out.
And this is something that's supported by science as well. In a research study where they were looking at different scents. So, if cats preferred, catnip or lavender scent over other scents, they found that really it didn't matter what the odor itself was. That was less important than just providing a rotation of different scents to the cat. So, basically, the cats didn't get used to one scent and kind of always kept it new. And I know this is something that you do with your cats, where you bring in odors from outside and let your cat sniff them. So, can you explain a bit about how you do that?
Yeah, so I do this in a few different ways. I love using scents and the cat's olfactory abilities to enrich their lives. So if it's nice outside, or even if it's not, I have our dog, and if I'm who's actually itching right now, so she wants to be included. So if I'm walking her, I'll pick up random things from the outside. I might pick up a rock, a little handful of grass that hasn't been treated. You always have to make sure that they're safe objects. A rock, a stick, a leaf, and I'll bring them back in. Sometimes snow, and I'll bring it in and let them interact with it. And it's that new, especially for indoor only cats, it's that new scent that they've just not experienced before. And that's exciting to them. If they've treated outside and or something that I don't feel that it's safe to bring in things from the outdoors, I'll go raid my spice cabinet and I'll let the cats sniff various spices. Obviously not like pepper or anything spicy or irritating to them, but I'll let them smell basil and marjoram, or cinnamon and different things like that, and vanilla, and just let them get a whiff of it. And Rob and I have a blast watching our cats because we really let them smell most of the things that we're eating, and they have some pretty interesting responses to them. Sometimes, they'll smell my mug of tea and they like that. And then, Rob will make like a gin and tonic or something and let them smell that. And they're like, oh no,
Yeah.
that's disgusting. Um, but it, engages them and gives them something different.
Most of us have heard that dogs have an excellent sense of smell and they can be trained to do nose work. So, Tori, is this something that you've ever trained a cat to do?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite things to work with cats on, because it's so different and you really don't hear a lot about it. I was actually challenged by my friend Molly Sumridge to train my cat's nose work and to see what they would think of it. And, we know dogs can do bomb detection, narcotics detection, and things like that. But there's also a dog sport called nose work that uses different essential oils like birch, anise, and clove, and we pair them onto the scent, and then they search rooms, they search vehicles and different things, and engages them in that way. So I decided to try this originally with Peach, and I talked to a few different vets about safe essential oils since cats can be more sensitive, and I decided on cedarwood oil. It has some calming properties for cats as well. So I used that and I paired Peach onto the scent, and I showed her the scent and then gave her treats. And it assigned value to that scent. And then I started with easy searches, and I would put a Q-tip with this diluted cedarwood oil into the box. And when she would find it, I would reinforce her. And then you eventually build on that and teach them that they can start searching a whole room. And that is really exciting for them. It engages in this natural cycle of hunting. And then once they find this novel scent, then they are reinforced with praise, attention, treats. And then generally after the search, the cat will go into grooming and then sleeping. So it engages in this cycle of hunt, eat, groom, and sleep. And it's really satisfying for the cats, I find.
That's really interesting. I haven't really heard of anyone else doing that with cats, so that is super cool. So, again, when we're talking about indoor cats, the space that they're living in is highly controlled. And it's often set up in a way that's going to be most beneficial to the human inhabitants of the home and probably not the cat. But there are some things that can be done to make it more cat centric space. So, Tori, what kind of things have you done in your house or do you suggest owners do?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is vertical space. Cats love to climb. They're always trying to get higher. That's why they're always trying to get on your counters, on the tables, in the blinds, wherever they can do, whatever they can do to get higher. And the more cat trees that I've added, or the shelves, or allowing them on different pieces of furniture, I've actually made it so the cats can go from one side of our main living space to the other without even touching the ground. And especially in multi cat households, this is so important for that. A cat that might be getting bullied on the ground level can go higher and kind of avoid interacting with another cat in the home that might scare them.
Yeah, absolutely. Having several spaces for cats. One thing I'll see in our house, because it is smaller, is we'll get kind of these choke points with the cats where it's like, well, to get into the kitchen, we all have to go through this doorway, and we know it's feeding time, and then everybody's grumpy because everyone's around each other. But adding a cat tower, adding a shelf or something in there so that they don't all have to go through that same route or there's alternative routes for them. I think that's a great idea.
So, cats also have scent glands on their cheeks and on their paws and other areas on their bodies that they use to express their scent that's unique to them. And that can make them feel more comfortable in their environment. So it's important to keep different things in the house that they can appropriately put their scent on. So scratching posts and other items that you might see your cat cheeking on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think not only just having these scent spots is important, but also the placement of them. So sometimes I'll talk to owners who tell me, oh, my cat is shredding up my couch, but they have a cat tower and they don't use it. And I'll ask, where's the cat tower? And it's in the basement next to the litter box where the cat never goes. And that's something important to remember that when cats will place their scent around the home, they're doing it in socially important areas. So they're doing it on the couch. They're doing it places where you hang out. So if you don't have an appropriate scent spot in that room, they're going to do it on whatever item is there, like the couch. So in our living room, we have a cat tower right next to the couch. So cats can feel like they have a spot in that socially important room where they can go and scratch and deposit their scent. We also have things like cat rugs, similar to a cat tower where the cat can scratch on it, but they can also roll on it, they can hide in it, they can cheek it like you talked about. Again, just placing their scent. So, really think about not only having several of these spots, but putting them throughout the house so that as the cat kind of patrols around the house, they can place their scent. And again, they can place it in areas where they hang out or where you hang out. So again, if you only have one cat tower and it's somewhere off where nobody ever goes, that might not be super attractive to your cat.
be creative when it comes to thinking about different things to enrich your cat. There are plenty of opportunities that you can start doing right now, and start engaging your cat.
Exactly. And one thing you could do right now is just open a window for your cat and allow your cat to smell and see the outdoors. And there's actually a lot of ways that you can get your cat outside. So, if you have the ability to make something like a catio or a cat enclosure, it's something really great because then it keeps your cat safely in an area. They can't get out, they can't go wander, but they can go out freely and sit in the grass, eat the grass, smell smells. It's something, again, that allows them to just be a cat and have some control over their lives. In our house, we actually have a cat tower that leads up to a window that the cats can go out and then access their cat enclosure. So they can go out there whenever they want as long as that window is open for them. And within the cat enclosure, we have different levels where they can jump up, they can sit and climb or scratch. We have different objects we'll put in there. Right now, there's some logs in there for them to scratch on. But it was really cheaply made. We actually just used some chicken wire and nailed it to boards and built it for, 100 bucks or something like that. So it can be done relatively cheaply and safely. But if you don't really have that outdoor space, just something like a cat perch in a window is enough just to allow them to smell the outdoors and be able to feel the sun and hear the birds. Just again, really giving them that experience. Now, again, maybe you don't have that ability to let your cat have the window open, especially if it's winter or something like that. And so there are things you can do, such as cat TV. Have you ever done anything like that, Tori, with your cats?
Yes, that is my go-to when, because we all have it, that's my go-to when the cats are annoying me. And I'm trying to read on the couch or something, and they are do it off trying to eat plants or do whatever they're doing. I'll turn the TV on, and there are plenty of YouTube channels that are fantastic for this. I believe one is called Cat TV, and they have all sorts of different videos of birds eating seed. One of my cat's favorites is the birds that eat seed and then get into fights over the the lack of feed there, and so they'll flap and everything, and that really gets their attention. They have ones with fish and birds and squirrels and mice, and they love it.
Oh yeah, we haven't really tried that too much with our cats, but I do have an app on my phone where it's like a mouse that will move, and if the cat paws the mouse, it'll squeak. And my boys love that. Like I can put my phone on and just put it on the ground, and they'll just stare at it for like I don't know. I've had to take it away. It was like a half hour last time I left it, and they were still staring at it. So they might go for even longer if I didn't take it away. But this has actually been something that's been researched, surprisingly. People have looked at what kind of videos shelter cats like to look at. And they actually, again, found that shelter cats like to watch videos of prey animals that have fast movement. So, again, it's coming back to this idea that they like to have things that are mimicking prey that they would naturally be attracted to. And so, again, if you're thinking of picking a video or some kind of game for your cat to engage with, find something with movement that's going to really elicit that response in your cat. One other thing I found that my cats will really engage with is if I play cat vocalizations. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I actually have an app on my phone that has like all these different cat vocalizations. And if I start pressing it, my cats will run over and like try to sniff the phone and explore what's going on. Or if I'm watching research videos and there's cats meowing, they all run in and they're looking around. And so that's something I had never thought about, but your cat might actually respond to, vocalizations of other cats. So, as you mentioned, there's kind of endless possibilities here of things that you can engage your cat with. And again, it's less about sometimes what it is. I mean, you want to make sure it's something that's going to stimulate that cat's interest, but really giving them different choices and keeping them interested is really important as well.
Absolutely. We think about enrichment as a way to just have fun with your cat, but it is super important to do this with them for their mental health, even their physical health, with giving them exercise, with play, and just to keep them busy, because it is so common for cats to just lay there and sulk or sleep all day. And they really, they do sleep quite a bit, but it's really important for them to stay active, to stay healthy and engaged in their life, to live their best 9 lives. So, of course, there's so many different ideas that you can do with your cat, and it's impossible for us to know all of the things that you might be doing. So, feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram or on any of our posts and let us know what you're doing with your cat. We love to hear new ideas to keep our cats engaged, and some of your ideas may help other owners to branch out on their enrichment ideas as well.
Great. And I would also like to mention that for our first episode and this episode as well, any of the scientific papers that we've mentioned will be listed in the YouTube description. So you can go back and read more about this research and maybe find ways of applying it to your own life with your cat. So I'd like to thank you for joining us on this episode of CatSci Podcast. We'll be back shortly to talk more about cat behavior and training.
This episode was brought to you by Maui's Cat Behavior and Space Cat Academy. Visit us online at mauis.com and spacecatacademy.com.